This is a beans and greens dish. It's basic Italian cooking. There's not an Italian in the world that doesn't make some form of beans and greens. We're going to use cannellini beans, which have been studied and are scientifically proving to help lower cholesterol, blood pressure, and plaque from veins and arteries. They're brilliant, and they're used in almost every Italian dish, whether there's meat involved or not. I swear if they could make a gelato out of cannellini beans, Italians would do it. So we're gonna make a really quick, really simple dish. So the first thing we're gonna do is visit this pepper that's roasting over an open flame. You finally get to burn something. You put it right on your direct flame, and you let the skin get black and charred. And what you're doing is not only giving the pepper that lovely smoky flavor, but doing what in the Mediterranean diet they know wisely is getting rid of the alkaloid solanine, which aggravates arthritic joints. By roasting and peeling the pepper, you neutralize those so you can have your pepper and eat it too, right? Okay. So now we're going to take some extra virgin olive oil while that roasts. And then I'll explain the rest of that pepper roasting process. I am generous with olive oil, just so you know. We'll take some sliced garlic because I want a more mild flavor here. Some red onion, and then we'll turn on the flame. And while the onions begin to sweat, I'm going to talk to you a little bit more about the roasted pepper. So once all the sides are blackened like this, then you either put it into a bowl with a plate over it or a paper sack, and you let that skin steam off for about 5 to 10 minutes. And then the pepper will look like this, sort of wilted, and the skin looks a little grungy. And then you simply push the black off with your finger. Now, this all sticks to your hands. You can wash your hands as many times as you want to. Try not to wash the pepper, because then you wash away all that smoky taste. Little pieces of char is okay. You just want to make sure that you don't wash the pepper too much. Otherwise, you lose the flavor. And yeah, it's still good, but not as good as when you leave it. Little pinch of salt, and then we'll go back to our onions. And we're going to saute them until they're slightly translucent. If you don't saute the onions long enough, they become more bitter tasting, and they become the overpowering flavor of your dish. And we want the onions to be sweet, because we're going to combine those sweet onions with a bitter green. So you don't want bitter and bitter. You want bitter and sweet. Just like in life, you want bitter and sweet. So as soon as the onions become translucent, meaning that they have a little bit of clarity to them, but also when you first start to saute them, you smell a really strong sulfur smell. As soon as that smell is gone, you're ready to move on. You want to keep your heat to about medium so you don't burn the garlic. If you burn the garlic, you should just toss it all and start over. It's probably one of the worst food flavors in the world. Next goes in some carrot that's been diced so that it cooks quickly. Another tiny pinch of salt. Our roasted peppers that were diced. When you roast peppers, and you put them in the sack and you let them steam off, make sure they're pretty cooled when you start to peel them, because you're going to pull the seed bed out. And when you pull that seed bed out, if the pepper's really hot, you can get a steam burn. So just be a little bit careful with that. And then while that sweats, we're going to add some diced celery. Now the celery's not going to cook for a long time. I want the celery to be a little crunchy so that everything in the dish isn't soft. When you're cooking, you got to think about that kind of thing. You want to create a variety of textures and flavors and colors so that your dish is really appetizing and people can't wait to eat your food. Right? One of the beauties of the Mediterranean diet is by using fresh ingredients as much as they do and using them cooked so simply with olive oil, garlic, salt, and maybe a little lemon juice, you end up with food that people can't wait to eat. The fact that it's healthy for them is a nice side benefit. Touch more salt. Just stir the celery in really quickly. And next go our cooked cannellini beans. I cooked these 3 parts water to 1 part beans with a bay leaf so that you don't become musical, because the bay leaf has compounds that tenderize the protein and fiber in the beans so that they become easy to digest. Cannellini beans, if you cook them a long time, will almost create their own gravy around themselves. They're delicious. And then our greens. The greens are bitter. This is escarole. Make sure you wash it really well because it grows in sandy soil. And while it won't hurt you, it's not a really nice mouthfeel. And escarole belongs in the category of bitter greens. And bitter greens play a huge part in the Mediterranean diet because they help to support the liver in its function of metabolizing and detoxing in the body. So in Chinese medicine, we say that the liver also governs whether or not you are patient or impatient. So if someone offers you bitter greens and you say, I don't really like them in that cranky way, you probably should eat them because you need them if you're cranky. So when you eat bitter greens, you're a happier camper and everyone else around you is too. And you just want to saute these until they wilt just a little bit. If you overcook escarole, like you see in many restaurants, they cook it until it's a really dark green, it's really super bitter. You want to just have it wilt. And as soon as that happens, this is going to go right into our dish. This dish is so quick and so easy. It takes a little bit of time if you decide to cook your cannellini beans from scratch, from dried beans. If you want to use canned ones, this dish is ready in 5 minutes. So there's our cannellini beans, and now we have to finish off our soup.